Part 63. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 631. The spiritual weapon in front of him was a silver spear. The tip of the spear was pierced on the ground, and his whole body was like a silver dragon. Across the fatal killing circle, Wu Yu could feel the superpower contained under the appearance of this weapon. Countless magic circles are engraved on it, densely packed and countless. The person who created this spiritual weapon also spent a lot of effort. Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow circled M. However, whether it is Wu Yu or others, they can only stare at this spiritual weapon in a daze. Wu Yu had not tried it before, but no one was stopping him now. He had been thinking about it for a long time, and was still confused about the formation. In fact, the scope of the formation was a sphere, and the spiritual instrument was at the center of the sphere, so no matter it is from the sky or the earth, it is impossible, and even digging 3 feet into the ground will not work. Whenever something comes close, it will be destroyed, even the grass and land outside the magic circle. He asked several clones to walk around and observe the current situation. The grassland was still the same as it was at the beginning, which showed that the movement they caused in the mausoleum did not cause any change here. Occasionally you meet other people. Nowadays, everyone is a headless fly. The accident between the immortal shark and the emperor's son frightened many people. Now, almost no one dares to go to a place like a mausoleum where people die. Wu Yu continued to think about the magic circle. Although it was impossible, if it succeeded, it would really make a lot of money. Wu Yu. While Wu Yu was looking for a solution, Princess Yuking came nearby and saw him. In the Beiming Empire, there were not as many sons and daughters of emperors as there were in the Yanhuang ancient kingdom, so Princess Yuji's status in the Beiming Empire was quite high. At least he is higher than the emperor's son in Yanhuang ancient kingdom. Of course, the advantage of the Yanhuang ancient kingdom is that it has strong national power and is invincible. Outside the mausoleum, Princess Yuchang was a terrifying threat, so Wu Yu was very wary when he encountered her. He retreated to the opposite side of the magic circle and looked at Princess Yuchang across the magic circle and the spiritual artifact. "Are you interested in this spiritual weapon?" Princess Yuking stopped outside the magic circle, light waves flowing in her eyes. "All spiritual tools can make people crazy," Wu Yu said. Seeing his guarded expression, Princess Yuking smiled and said, "Don't be so nervous. I'm not one of those ugly monsters. Regarding the matter about the mausoleum, I am still grateful to you." Princess Yuking's temperament is very cold, with the cold feeling of Beiming. But when she smiled at this time, she was as proud as a plum blossom, which was particularly impressive. Wu Yu didn't answer. Maybe it was because he killed Xiao Yili. He didn't dare to have too much contact with Princess Yuking, lest the clues would be discovered. "It seems that you have no intention of pleasing me," Princess Yuking sighed quietly, with a look of helplessness on her face. "It seems that you barely saved my life in the mausoleum. Let me give you a little reminder. First, regarding the immortal shark, although most people don't believe that it has anything to do with you, there are some. Some people believe it, but this small group is also a huge threat. You should pay more attention to it in the future. There are many demons in the sea and they come in groups. They will retaliate and are extremely fierce." There was nothing Wu Yu could do about this matter. Princess Yuking said again, "After you left, I heard some people from the Yanhuang ancient kingdom discussing that after Emperor Yu and Xuanhuan died, they had to shirk some responsibility to avoid being punished, so they are likely to take the responsibility, and put it on you who failed to save the emperor. After all, you are helpless and easy to bully. As for the Yanhuang ancient country, I'm afraid you won't be able to go. If you have endured hardship and figured it out, what if you want to leave this country? You are also a talented person. If you are willing to serve me, I, Yuchang, will definitely welcome you to come to the Beiming Empire and serve me." It seemed that she was somewhat attracted to Wu Yu's ability. but Wu Yu didn't understand her, and he didn't know if she had other ideas. Maybe he was a sweetheart to everyone now. He would definitely not go to the Beiming Empire. The Lord of Yanhuang City told Wu Yu that his roots belonged to the Yanhuang Emperor City, and it was impossible for him to defect to the Yanhuang Ancient Kingdom. Unless absolutely necessary. Let's go. I'm interested in this spiritual weapon. I have to think about how to crack it. When you figure it out, come to me. You are always welcome. Princess Yuking waved her hand and said. On this grassland, there are so many spiritual tools like this that Wu Yu doesn't have to fight with her. He nodded, said goodbye, and left quickly. In fact, Princess Yuking did remind him and let him understand that the road he will take in the future is full of murderous intent. Everything is not easy. Be careful. I showed too much ability back then, and ended up making people jealous, but I wasn't careful enough, and ended up dying, Mingtong said with emotion. The more powerful Wu Yu became, the more she felt as if Wu Yu was following her old path. Of course, strength and talent cannot be concealed at all, unless you don't want to compete with others. Without confrontation and collision, there will be no progress in the right way. Therefore, it is impossible not to show up. What he really needs is to be more careful, consider comprehensively, and take advantage of the general trend in each game. There is even protection from the strong. Challenges are everywhere, and I have never been afraid of challenges. To practice Taoism is to plunder. Fight with the heaven and the earth, and compete with other people. Only by plundering and having the last laugh can you become an immortal. His will is extremely firm, and the pressure he faces cannot scare Wu Yu at all. He had more than a dozen clones wandering around, and one of them even encountered a sea monster and was immediately destroyed. This grassland is endless and seems to hide many secrets. After coming out of the mausoleum, many people continue to walk out to explore the unknown world. Wu Yu decided to go further. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. His original body chose a direction and set off. Not long after he set off, he immediately turned back, because at this time, one of his clones happened to find an incredible upper spiritual weapon. Compared with other upper spiritual weapons, it is not so outstanding, but its attraction to Wu Yu is at least 10 times that of the silver spear last time. Because, this is a stick. Although it is said that there is a magic circle to protect him, it is unlikely that he will get this weapon, but this weapon still has a huge attraction, which makes Wu Yu give up going far away and quickly come to its eyes. It is still flat here, and the vision can see the grassland in a very far distance. There are green grass everywhere, swaying gently in the wind. In a very ordinary place on the grassland, a golden stick, about a quarter of it is inserted into the ground, and the other quarter is tilted and pointed to the sky. The base color of the stick is black as ink. Although it is the base color, there are not many of them, because it is covered with more golden reliefs. A closer look shows that the black stick is entangled with densely packed, golden dragons, numbering thousands or even tens of thousands. Tens of thousands of golden dragon reliefs protrude from the black stick. Each golden dragon relief is actually very small, but it does not feel fragile. Even each golden dragon has a different charm, different movements, and even a different personality. They are chasing, roaring, sleeping, or fighting. All the various forms of dragons are concentrated in this weapon. It seems that this weapon is really made up of tens of thousands of dragons gathered together. These golden dragons do not make the stick look dense and ugly, but instead appear a kind of domineering, majestic, and repressive beauty, making everyone who sees it eager to get this upper spiritual weapon. Yes, this should also be an upper spiritual weapon. Wu Yu only took a first look and knew that this was definitely the most suitable one among all the many upper spiritual weapons he had seen. In fact, the stick was like sleeping at this time, and it did not burst out with such a strong brilliance, but it made Wu Yu's eyes sunken and even his breathing became cramped. Maybe the floating life tower is more powerful, but Wu Yu is more eager to get the upper spiritual weapon in front of him, because it represents power and majesty. The workmanship that is like the creation of heaven and earth, every bit, every little dragon, makes Wu Yu eager and yearning. For men, sometimes the importance of weapons is beyond imagination. When Wu Yu was still young, he began to desire weapons. At that time, he longed for a fine steel sword and lost his appetite. And at this moment, for him, standing in front of this weapon, but unable to get close, is exactly this feeling. Longing, but can't get it, can only stare blankly, the torment and depression in the heart. Strange, I really want to know this weapon. I've seen information about it in my memory, Ming Long suddenly said excitedly, which scared Wu Yu. She had also obtained the Ruyi Jinggubang. When it was at its strongest, it was much stronger than Wu Yu now. It should not be surprising that she paid attention to this type of upper spiritual weapon. She didn't know other upper spiritual weapons. Maybe she had longed for this one before. Think about it carefully. Ming Long tilted his head, racked his brains, and finally slapped his thigh and said, I remember that I had seen the record of this weapon at that time. This is a very ancient weapon. It is definitely at the level of an upper spiritual weapon. It has a history of at least 3 yuan from now, because I saw that it was also marked as an upper spiritual weapon that appeared 2 yuan ago. In order to compete for it, the cultivators once set off a bloody storm, and it was finally recorded. I remember that the name seems to be. Ming Long spoke a lot quickly, and finally frowned and thought. Haha. I know, its name is the Infinite 10,000 Dragon Stick. It's definitely a spiritual weapon. According to legend, the person who created this weapon visited all the dragon clans that recorded the time, and asked for a dragon scale from each dragon. He then added the infinite great magic array and more than 200,000 auxiliary magic arrays, and finally created this infinite 10,000 dragon stick. This weapon contains the will of the dragon bloodline, the majesty of the 10,000 dragons, and the very rare infinite great magic array, forming the infinite power of the world, which is a sacred weapon of power. Among so many spiritual weapons, it is the one that believes in absolute power the most and has the strongest explosive power. It is recorded in ancient books that it has disappeared for a long time. I didn't expect it to appear in this ancient immortal road. What a miracle! Of course, this weapon is extremely suitable for you, what a pity, Ming Long sighed. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 632. Wu Yu could tell that although it was very quiet and stuck on the grassland, it definitely had a glorious history. The person who created it indeed spent a lot of effort and was able to obtain the dragon scales of so many divine dragons. This shows that this person has a very good relationship with the divine dragon clan. The dragon also reminded Wu Yu of Luo Bin. Whether it's the desire in his heart, or hearing his story, or yearning for it, Wu Yu is 200% determined to get it at this moment. This is also his desire for absolute power. Especially after experiencing the battle in the mausoleum, Wu Yu believed in absolute power. And the immeasurable power in the world of this spiritual weapon coincided with his idea. The immeasurable power in the world is the infinite and huge power in the world, so great that there is no limit. But, just like Ming Long said, it's a pity because this Taoist weapon is still from the Teku immortal path for the time being. It is estimated that there are actually other people here, but there is nothing they can do. So far, no one should have obtained the spiritual artifact. Wu Yu calmed down. Do you want to get this 10,000 dragon stick? Ming Long asked. Nonsense. Give up, it's a waste of time. If you could get it, you would have gotten other Taoist tools long ago. Although he said this, Wu Yu was still unwilling to give in. No matter what, he decided to stay here for a long time. Maybe there would be a chance. On the Teku Immortal Road, nothing is impossible. He started testing. Take out something at random and throw it inside. In an instant, golden flames appear invisible and engulf the thing. You can still vaguely hear the roar of the dragon. The same super spiritual weapon died instantly. Whatever it was, it disappeared instantly. Wu Yu took out a lot of useless things, divided into hundreds of clones, surrounded the magic circle and Taoist tools, and smashed them inside. When the things were gone, he picked up the soil on the ground and smashed them inside. I saw that the entire circle was filled with rushing golden flames, just like a huge golden fireball in the grassland, burning like a sun hitting the ground. Faintly, many golden divine dragons can also be seen swimming and galloping inside the sun. The strange thing is that the soil and grass inside the magic circle, as well as the grass and soil outside the magic circle, are not affected at all. The flames on the magic circle seem to be completely unable to burn these things. After trying for a long time, there was still no breakthrough. I still feel very depressed. The important treasure that I longed for so much was right in front of me, as if I could easily get it, but there was a magic circle. I don't believe there is no way. He still didn't give up, so he sat cross-legged outside the magic circle, meditating hard, testing various methods, and using various methods. You can't do this. You don't even know the name of this magic circle, let alone the details and structure of this magic circle. How can you know how to crack it? This spiritual weapon is obviously for those who can be familiar with it. Prepared by people who cracked this kind of magic circle. You are still far behind. Even the old guy who needs some top attainments is far behind. Why do you care about the attainments of the magic circle? Minglong sighed again. She has a point. However, Wu Yu just refused to give in. The main reason is that I am too eager. After a few more glances, Wu Yu would be able to reach a state where he would not even think about food and drink. Don't be impatient. With a calm heart, he sat cross-legged in front of the magic circle, with many clones and hundreds of pairs of eyes staring at the spiritual weapon. Even the state of selflessness is seen. There was really no other way, so he simply used his clone as a sentry, and began to expand Zifa Kanghai with Dao Yuan Shen Dan. Once in the Fusion Tower, he studied the magic circle and alchemy for a long time, and made great progress. Now it is not far away from breaking through to the 7th level of Zifa Kanghai realm. Time passed, and more than 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. It is impossible to break through the realm and the magic circle in front of me because of my anxiety. Wu Yu simply did not rush to practice, and continued to ponder around the magic circle. He had the Dragon God Ancient formation in his hand, and he was thinking that this 10,000 dragon stick might have something to do with the magic circle, and the magic circle might have something to do with the Dragon God. The Ancient formation was related, so he searched the Dragon God Ancient formation to see if there was a similar formation. Finally, he finished turning over the Dragon God Ancient formation. There are similar ones, but they are not the same, so there is no suitable way to crack them. This feeling of racking one's brains but only being able to look at the treasure is really uncomfortable. In the end, too much time was wasted, and Wu Yu had no choice but to give up. It should have been like this a long time ago. You haven't gotten it yet, Ming Tong comforted. Of course, she was gloating. It was not easy to find an opportunity to attack Wu Yu. Wu Yu was too lazy to talk to her and took back his clone. He packed his things and prepared to leave. Most of the items are in the Sumuru bag, and some are in the Tower of Floating Life. Suddenly, he touched something on his body, which was the black candle brought from the tomb. This candle reminded Wu Yu of the unknown tentacles of the golden coffin. How did you bring this thing out? He lay relaxed on the grass and looked at the sky covered with white clouds. He took the black candle out of his arms and played with it. At first, he felt that the history of the black candle was too long, and there were only a few things in the tomb, so he kept it on him. If he wasn't busy dealing with Princess Yuking and the others, he would naturally take a few more. How long have you been in that mausoleum? Wu Yu used his fingernails to pick at the candle, but he didn't expect that the material of the candle was very special. He tried to break it again, but he couldn't break it. With my strength, I can break ordinary Taoist tools. Not to mention this candle. In fact, it was only for this reason that Wu Yu kept the black candle on him. Try to light it. He condensed a little flame on his fingers and burned it on the candle wick. He thought that the candle would burn quickly, but no matter how he lit it, there was no movement. That's right, how can I light this candle on the ancient immortal road? He gave up and continued to lie on the grass, taking a rest for a while, enjoying the cool breeze. After feeling relaxed, it seemed that many things became clear again. Wu Yu was playing with the black candle in his hand. At this time, the scorching sun was rising. His eyes swept over the candle in his hand and saw the distant sun. The sun reminded Wu Yu of the magic circle next to the worldly infinite 10,000 dragon stick. He suddenly had an idea. This magic circle burns everything. This candle is difficult to light. If I put this candle close to the magic circle, will the candle light up? He jumped up from the grass. Since it was a sudden idea, he naturally did it as soon as he said it. He held the end of the candle with his fingers and stretched the part with the wick towards the magic circle. The boundary of the magic circle was very clear and precise. Wu Yu had tried it with grass. When half of the grass was inserted into it, it would definitely only burn half, and the other half was outside the magic circle, without any movement. I don't believe that this magic circle can't light this candle. He stood outside the magic circle, estimated the position, and stretched the wick towards the magic circle. The wick immediately approached and entered the magic circle. Just like other things entering the magic circle, a golden flame instantly appeared on the wick. Wu Yu saw that the wick was lit. He quickly pulled it out. The black candle actually burned. The black candle flame was not big, swaying gently in the wind, and black smoke came out when it burned. There were no other changes for the time being. The candle is burning, but it seems nothing. This should be a high-quality candle. The function of the candle is to illuminate. Now that the black candle flame is burning, the candle will only get shorter and shorter, and there seems to be no other changes. He blew it and found that it seemed impossible to extinguish the candle flame. Even if he took out a sword, he couldn't cut the candle wick, and as for water and the like, it was even more useless. It's really a strange thing. He held the candle and stood next to the magic circle, a little speechless. When the lit candle was slightly closer to the magic circle, he suddenly realized that the magic circle seemed to have changed a little, and there was a feeling of contraction. He didn't know much about the magic circle, but he still felt it when he was standing less than a foot away. Wu Yu was stunned. He picked up a ball of mud on the ground and threw it into the magic circle. The magic circle still instantly appeared with golden flames, instantly engulfing the mud. Although the magic circle did not disappear, when Wu Yu held the black candle and approached the magic circle, he always felt that the magic circle seemed to be a little loose. Is it possible? He stretched the candle into the magic circle, and soon the candle wick went in. The black flame burned in the magic circle. When the black flame burned, the golden flame did not seem to appear. Wu Yu was more excited than ever before, and he had a whimsical idea. He continued to stretch the candle inside, and soon half of the black candle entered the magic circle. Shockingly, there was no golden flame to engulf the candle. At this time, he picked up a piece of mud and took a deep breath. Then, he smashed it into the magic circle. Pa! When the black candle flame of the candle burned in the magic circle, the mud entered the magic circle, and with a pa, it fell next to the world's infinite 10,000 dragon stick. Ming Long suffocated, and then screamed, "How is it possible? How is it possible? This black candle is actually the way to crack this magic circle. Oh my God!" Wu Yu was also thrilling. He could hardly calm down. At this time, he didn't dare to enter. He made sure that the black candle was lit, and that it was lit inside the magic circle. Then he found a chain magic weapon, wrapped it in his hand, and with a whoosh, he stretched it into the magic circle and entangled the one long stick. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Unexpectedly, the chain was really entangled on the one long stick and was not engulfed by the golden flame. Wu Yu was so excited that he went crazy. He suddenly exerted force to pull out the one long stick. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 633. Chapter 627 Thrilling. At this moment, I was surprised, excited, and thrilled, and even my mind was a little blank. Candles, this was something I never expected. Using the magic circle to light the black candle was also an accidental act. It was purely out of my control and I just did it randomly. But I never expected that the candle flame could actually burn in the magic circle, and even when it was burning, the magic circle was not activated. At least, his magic weapon chain was now wrapped around the world's infinite 10,000 dragon stick. In his heart, he was extremely excited. He held the candle in one hand and used the other hand to pull the 10,000 dragon stick out. As long as it was pulled out, the spiritual weapon that everyone was crazy about would belong to Wu Yu. The chain was wrapped around the 10,000 dragon stick several times and stuck into the pattern of the 10,000 dragon stick. Wu Yu roared and pulled it out with force. I didn't expect that the 10,000 dragon stick stuck in the ground would not be easy to pull out. Wu Yu tried his best, but it was only slightly loose. He continued to grit his teeth. Success was just around the corner. He could see the one long stick loosening slightly. This loosening was Wu Yu's hope. Law of heaven and earth. Since this power was not enough, Wu Yu directly used the magical power of law of heaven and earth to make his body extremely huge, 3 feet long. His body was as sturdy as a mountain, and his mighty power was indignant. Although he did not use violence, his strength had increased several times. Buzz. One long stick, loosening. However, with a snap, the magic weapon chain broke and shattered. The power was too great, and the magic weapon could not bear it at all. Wu Yu staggered and almost fell. The black candle in his hand also left the magic circle. The chain fragments left in the magic circle burned instantly and turned into powder. Do you have the courage? Obviously, the magic circle will not be activated with the candle burning. You just rush in and pull it out, Ming Long said anxiously. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. She was worried about Wu Yu. However, it was still too dangerous inside the magic circle. Who knows if there will be any accidents? Once the magic circle suddenly fails, it will be annihilated inside, and it will be too late to go back. There was no suitable Taoist weapon in hand for Wu Yu to pull out the one long stick. After hearing what Ming Long said, he gritted his teeth and tried. First, he put the lit black candle into the magic circle, and then the finger. If the finger was burned, at least it could be restored, and the impact was not great. When his finger was inserted into the magic circle, it should be because of the black candle that he was not burned. It seemed that only when the black candle existed, the magic circle disappeared. In fact, there are still many variables in this process. For example, whether the candle will suddenly fail, whether the candle will suddenly go out, whether the magic circle will suddenly change, so many changes, any one of them can cost Wu Yu's life. However, sometimes doing things simply and straightforwardly is indeed very important. When his finger was fine, Wu Yu gritted his teeth and rushed in directly. His sight was only on the one long stick. At this moment, he held the one long stick in one hand. He didn't have time to experience the touch of this upper spiritual weapon, so he directly used the violent technique. The 6 times of physical strength, plus the power of the purple mansion sea, gathered together and burst out instantly. "Get up!" Wu Yu shouted, and under his huge power, the infinite one long stick in the world came out. This process was accompanied by a loud bang, and then the whole grassland trembled and roared. The movement was too huge. It is estimated that most people who are still in the ancient immortal road can hear this movement. They can also feel the earthquake of this grassland. Wu Yu gathered all his strength, pulled out the one long stick, and then dragged the one long stick out of the magic circle at the fastest speed. He didn't breathe a sigh of relief until he rushed out of the magic circle. Success. Although it is incredible, the rough and touch tells Wu Yu that this is the upper spiritual weapon he desires. The first intuition is that the movement just now was so huge that it must be cleaned up immediately. Without saying anything, he directly put the infinite dragon stick into the sumuru bag. As for the black candle, he hesitated for a moment, because the candle had burned 1/3, but it could not be extinguished. He tried to put it into the sumuru bag, but was resisted by the sumuru bag's magic array. If he forced it in, it might cause the sumuru bag to collapse. He was suddenly shocked. This candle can let me get this upper spiritual weapon, maybe I can get others. There are many upper spiritual weapons here. There are still 2/3 of the candle, and I don't know if I can get to the next upper spiritual weapon before it burns out. Wu Yu is not very familiar with the surroundings. In his impression, the nearest upper spiritual weapon should be the silver spear before. Maybe there is a closer one, but he doesn't know where it is. I just don't know if Princess Yukin is still there. When I took out the 10,000 dragon stick just now, there was a huge movement, and it is estimated that other people know. Wu Yu is about to set off. However, it was not so fortunate that at this moment, a man appeared in the distance of the grassland. He was coming here quickly. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Wu Yu. He was extremely shocked and surprised. "Wu Yu, there is a high-level spiritual weapon here. You took the high-level spiritual weapon." It was all because the 10,000 dragon stick made too much noise and attracted this person. Wu Yu was very depressed. This was just like when he got the ancient water source crystal stone before. Getting the one long stick is a good thing, but if people know about it, it will cause even greater trouble. It's like the heavens are against him. Wu Yu hid the black candle behind him, so he couldn't let the other party see it. He hurriedly said, "Don't talk nonsense, I also came here after hearing the noise. If I have the ability to break this magic circle and get the upper spiritual weapon, do I have to go into the mausoleum to take risks?" The candle continued to burn, and it couldn't last long, but the matter at hand must be solved. Wu Yu knew this person. He was from the ancient country of Xuanhuan. Wu Yu didn't know his specific identity. His name seemed to be Junyan's Hung. His cultivation level was the 4th level of the Yuanshen realm. His status in the group of the ancient country of Yanhuang was no less than Bailey Xuanhuan. Last time, Bailey Xuanhuan was able to follow the emperor's son, but he didn't have this opportunity, and he was upset. With his identity, he must be at the level of Shaofuzu or above. In the ancient country of Yanhuang, people with such an identity are still very difficult for Wu Yu. The other party looked surprised. He knew clearly that there was a stick at this location. At this time, the stick disappeared. Wu Yu was here. In his eyes, Wu Yu might have many wonderful methods, so he was still suspicious and glared, "Empty words are not enough. I want to see your sumi bag. As long as there is no previous stick, I won't embarrass you. Wu Yu, you must know yourself. This is definitely not something you can have. As the saying goes, a man is innocent, but he is guilty of holding a treasure. Don't make a big mistake and implicate your own people. If Wu Yu checks the sumi bag, all his secrets will be exposed. This is definitely not okay, unless he hides the one long stick in the fusion tower later. However, even so, the fusion tower is worried about being discovered. Therefore, checking the sumi bag is absolutely not okay. In the world of cultivation, this itself is the greatest insult of the strong to the weak. Stop joking. I can only say that the disappearance of this upper spirit Daikai has nothing to do with me. Everyone has some secrets. You can't show me your sumuru bag, and neither can I. In fact, the other party was just suspicious. He was going to leave immediately, but he didn't expect that at this time, a few more people came over. These people should be demons, and they also came here after hearing the sound. Jun Yanzhong spoke very loudly just now, and they might have heard it. Wu Yu, did you get the upper spirit Daikai? Someone asked with a bad look. Wu Yu had a headache even more. After thinking carefully, instead of getting entangled with them here, he might as well go find the silver spear. He said, "Don't talk nonsense. I can also say that Jun Yanzhong got it. It's nothing more than I was nearby and came here first. The person who really got it has long gone, or this upper spirit Daikai disappeared by itself. Who can say for sure?" He returned to his normal body shape. After he finished speaking, he directly left with the candle. Anyway, no one saw it with their own eyes, so he would not admit it. Wu Yu, Jun Yanzhong was not convinced and chased after him, but he could not catch up with Wu Yu's speed at all. Wu Yu used the magic of walking and disappeared in front of him in a short time. He used the magic of heaven and earth, and his body became as small as possible. With the magic of walking, many people could not see Wu Yu passing by. He was simply elusive. However, even so, the black candle burned very fast. Wu Yu estimated that after arriving, there would probably be only a little black candle left. No one has too many spiritual tools. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The position of the silver spear in my memory was getting closer and closer. If I had walked around more and familiarized myself with the surroundings before, I should have been able to find a spiritual tool closer than the silver spear. It's a pity that he didn't know that this candle had a miraculous effect at first. If he knew, he would definitely take away a lot. What's a pity? What's more regrettable is that the black candle is getting shorter and shorter. After this candle burns out, Wu Yu can probably hold on for about 30 breaths. This speed is enough for Wu Yu to rush in and pull out the silver spear, but it's a little thrilling. He has already seen the silver spear. It's a pity that Princess Xuanhuan is standing in front of the silver spear at this time. Wu Yu can't show her how to break the magic circle. He didn't plan to leak out the method that the black candle can break the magic circle, otherwise others will continue to enter the mausoleum to grab the candle. So, when he arrived here, he could only stop in the distance and watch the candle go out and burn out. And the silver spear is still under the gaze of Princess Xuanhuan. What a pity. However, at least he got the 10,000 dragon stick. He was not greedy. He was already very satisfied. There were so many people who came into the ancient immortal road. Who could have gained more than him? He was already thinking about how to sacrifice and refine this spiritual weapon. I am quite busy today, so I will update once for now. I will add another chapter tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 634. After a slight hesitation, the black candle in his hand went out. In order to avoid being discovered by Princess Yuxi, Wu Yu hurriedly left here. Although the grassland was similar everywhere, he still had to find a relatively safe place to sacrifice this upper spiritual weapon. Although he was not in the realm of Yuan Shen Huaxing, and might not be able to exert the power of this upper spiritual weapon, he had to try it. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. After all, he could even control the floating life tower a little bit. In terms of grade, the floating life tower should be higher than the worldly infinite 10,000 dragon stick. While looking for a slightly safer place, Wu Yu thought, There are so many upper spiritual weapons outside this grassland, and they can all be obtained. Maybe I can just get other candles. The more I think about it, the more regrettable it is. If I had taken a few more candles at that time, it would have been better. Although he had obtained what he wanted most, the more treasures he had, the better. After all, Wu Yu still had very few resources for cultivation, and he still needed a lot of Dao Yuan Shen pills. Is there any way to get other candles? He asked Ming Long. If you want to get the candles, you have to enter the mausoleum. You may not be afraid of the corpses in the mausoleum, and the maze should have disappeared, but you can't open the bronze door. You started late, and although you have made rapid progress in the magic array, you are still far behind Bailey Xuanhuan, who has been studying since childhood and has been guided by adults in the clan. The key is the door. Maybe there are still people among the remaining people who can crack this door, Wu Yu said. But do you dare to cooperate with them? Ming Long's words made sense. Wu Yu thought about it and decided to forget it for the time being. The current situation is that even if you sacrifice and refine the 10,000 dragon stick, you can't use it. Without a backer, it's too difficult to survive in this world of Yanfu. Nonsense, otherwise, how could I be besieged? They just think I'm not qualified to own a treasure. Ming Long was resentful. She was still brooding over the past, but unfortunately all her enemies were dead now. Wu Yu came to a relatively uninhabited place, far away from the mausoleum, with the least people coming. He took out the Han-Hai Tyrannosaurus pillar and poked a deep pit more than 10 feet deep in the grass. The mouth of the deep pit was only as big as a bowl, hidden in the grass, and not easy to be discovered. And the vast grassland is so big, unless someone happens to step on the mouth of this divine pit, how can anyone notice that there is such a narrow but deep cave between the green grass? Then, Wu Yu buried the floating life tower underground. Then, he used the heaven-embossed earth technique to make his body the smallest, and he easily entered the cave. As he entered, he filled the cave and restored the area near the entrance to its original state, which made it even more seamless. He landed on the floating life tower. Now he and the floating life tower were hidden in the ground, which was 10 feet deep. There was mud all around. It could be said that it was safer than ever, and it was equivalent to disappearing. Then, he entered the floating life tower, which was the real disappearance. After arriving at the floating life tower, he had twice the time. Wu Yu was excited and cautious, and took out the world's infinite 10,000 dragon stick from the sumuru bag. He held the 10,000 dragon stick with both hands. The patterns on it were all golden dragons. Although the golden dragons were small, the dragon scales all over the body were still very obvious, so it felt a little rough to the touch. Moreover, this upper spiritual weapon was extremely heavy. With Wu Yu's current strength, he actually felt a little overwhelmed. It can be seen that it is absolutely difficult for others to dance this upper spiritual weapon. Very strenuous. It felt similar to a mortal swinging a 100 jin iron stick. In fact, it was precisely because of this heaviness that the power was so great. Most of the core materials used to make this one long stick are treasures with at least 8 spiritual patterns. There are even treasures with 9 spiritual patterns. He stroked the one long stick, feeling the patterns of the 10,000 different little dragons and their spiritual will, his face full of joy, just like a child getting a dream toy. Don't be too happy too early, this treasure may not necessarily recognize you. Ming Long poured cold water on him. Wu Yu naturally knew that there was no time to lose. He sat cross-legged on the ground, holding the one long stick tightly with both hands, and performed the method of sacrifice. The two collided, and the world turned upside down. Although Wu Yu was still sitting cross-legged in the same place, everything around him changed. He appeared on an endless sea. There was sea water under his feet, and he could not see the end at all, and he could not feel how deep the sea water was. The most important thing is that this is not ordinary sea water. This is golden sea water, and in fact, it is not real water, but liquid metal. Boom boom boom. The burning red liquid metal formed a golden red sea. What's more terrifying is that it also formed many sky-high waves, sweeping everywhere. The sea water swept and collided, making a harsh roar. Just from this sound, you can hear its extremely heavy side. Heavy, majestic, scorching, and fiery. This is Wu Yu's impression of this endless liquid metal sea. You can imagine how terrible the pressure would be if you sank to the bottom of the sea. If the sea water suddenly solidified into metal at the bottom of the sea, I'm afraid even the gods can't escape. Incredible. Wu Yu was in the sky, and his body was hit by the splashing waves, and he immediately felt like he was hit by a mountain. This made Wu Yu feel at ease, and from this aspect, he could know the power of this upper spiritual weapon. Of course, this also shows that it is not so easy for him to master this upper spiritual weapon. Boom boom boom. Just after he came in, the golden Red Sea, which even had flames bursting out, was sweeping in a storm, rolling in the sea, and setting off deafening waves. Who dare to break into this place? Before Wu Yu stabilized his body, suddenly there were many voices of accusation in the seabed. For a while, the golden Red Sea was in turmoil, making a huge bang-bang sound, accompanied by the sound and the waves, one golden dragon after another. The whole body was like cast in gold, and there was a golden flame burning, dancing with four claws, twisting the body, and rushing out of the sea. In a short period of time, there were tens of thousands of golden dragons surrounding Wu Yu. You dare to break in here without even reaching the realm of transformation of the soul. Brothers, drive him away and let him retreat. The infinite one long stick in the world is not a spiritual weapon you can master. In fact, this struggle is a struggle of spiritual will, but for Wu Yu, it has become a struggle of body and strength. In the eyes of outsiders, this is Wu Yu's method of sacrifice and the game between him and the spirit of this weapon. I will sacrifice the one long stick, and no one can stop me. Facing the siege of Wanlong, Wu Yu knew that this was the time when he could not retreat the most. If he let Wanlong look down on him for the first time, it would be even more difficult to master the one long stick in the future. Don't be afraid of losing, but being timid is fatal. So, he was completely desperate. No matter how many opponents there were, he put in 200% of his fighting spirit at this time. Kill. A roar to the sky could at least cover the sound of the sea. Be brave. Being brave is useless. Too naive. For a moment, thousands of dragons like steel and fire bombarded. Contemplate the monkey heart. Whenever you contemplate the monkey heart, you can get the help of the great sage equaling heaven. Wu Yu relied on this method to master the Taoist tools before he reached the Yuan-Shen waxing realm. And now he wants to master the upper spiritual Taoist tools. Just because he is at the 6th level of the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm. In the contemplation, the golden monkey king in front of him was bathed in flames, wearing gorgeous and dazzling armor, holding the Ruyijing Gubang. In fact, it was himself. I don't know when he and the monkey heart gradually overlapped. The one who really wanted to fight was himself. The monkey heart was already in his heart. What appeared in the eyes of thousands of dragons was an unruly golden monkey king. He held the Ruyijing Gubang, roared, faced tens of thousands of dragons, fearless, and fought with the dragons. Wanlong realized that this was not an ordinary one who accidentally entered the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm. He was prepared. Boom boom boom. Wu Yu was very fierce when he made his move. The golden light in his eyes shot up to the sky, and there was no fear at all. The dragon in the head-on confrontation made him fly away. With a bang, the liquid metal was smashed into the sea. However, the golden dragons were endless. Wu Yu flew one away, and the other 9 dragons attacked him with their tails, claws, teeth, and horns. This was a pure flesh and blood fight. The dragons were all condensed from the sea, and their bodies were made of steel and metal, which was extremely hard. And there was no pain, no fear, only attack. However, Wu Yu was even more so. He killed like crazy, one stick after another, and there were many scars on his body, but this did not scare him. In a blink of an eye, he had fought like a madman, fighting against Xuanhuan alone. Boom boom boom. Above the golden sea, a golden monkey king bathed in flames was killing people everywhere. Tens of thousands of dragons were besieging him crazily, roaring loudly. A golden storm swept everywhere. There were fewer and fewer dragons, but Wu Yu's injuries were getting worse and worse. Get out. After smashing a dragon, half of his leg was bitten off. This pain was not imaginary, but real. Looking around, half of the dragons around him were gone, but his body was seriously injured. In fact, his spirit was seriously injured and he couldn't hold on any longer. Wu Yu, come out quickly, if you continue like this, you will die. Ming Long was anxious outside. Wu Yu woke up in a deadly battle. There is still a chance, Ming Long said. In fact, the broken dragons fell into the sea and would condense again after a while. Therefore, Wu Yu's opponents are endless. So far, there are still more than half of his opponents. But he couldn't hold on any longer. This is the limit of strength and spirit. Wu Yu chose to come out first. He realized the difficulty. But in fact, he didn't know that what was more shocking was the Xuanhuan stick. The Xuanhuan stick didn't expect Wu Yu to reach this level. And obviously, even if he quit this time, Wu Yu would come back again. After coming out, Wu Yu felt dizzy and almost fainted. Take a rest for a while, and with experience, maybe you can succeed next time, Ming Long actually encouraged him for the first time. But Wu Yu knew that it was not that easy. However, he was not discouraged, because he felt that every battle with this spiritual weapon was also a test of his realm. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 635. After coming out of the upper spirit Dao instrument, Wu Yu was mentally exhausted and took a deep sleep in the floating life tower. He hadn't slept for a long time, let alone slept so deeply. After waking up, he was full of energy. He heard Ming Long say that 8 days had passed, and 4 days had passed outside. His spiritual will was one of his greatest reliances. This might have been forged through the training of the Vajra indestructible body, or it might have been influenced by the will of the Monkey King, or it might have been innate. After recuperating, Wu Yu took out the 10,000 dragon stick without saying a word. Continue. Of course. Don't fight too hard. If you die in there, you will become an idiot. After all, without the Yuan Shen, you are actually quite vulnerable in there. It was the visualization of the heart that saved you. Although he said so, this was not the reason for Wu Yu to give up. He had a tenacity and impulse in his heart, a feeling of extreme desire. Wu Yu would not give up unless he succeeded. He even wanted to use these dragons to figure out his own way. When the monkey possessed him, his spiritual realm was very clear. This was a rare opportunity to improve without going through the magic circle. In the blink of an eye, he entered the Xuanhuan stick again and continued to perform the ritual. Visualizing the monkey, the golden ocean was stormy, the fiery red cloak was flying in the wind, and the ruyi golden cudgel in his hand was powerful. The whole body of armor was full of unruly and arrogant. This monkey was born to be rebellious and no one could suppress him. Boom boom boom. Wu Yu had rested, and tens of thousands of golden dragons had also rested. At this time, they all returned to their peak state, and rushed out from the golden ocean one by one. The dragons in the sky surrounded Wu Yu again. Boy, you dare to come again. You're lucky that we didn't beat you into an idiot last time. Don't blame us for being rude if you provoke us again. That's right. We could have shown mercy last time. Do you think we are willing to let you challenge us continuously to hone your will? The dragons laughed. Stop talking nonsense and start fighting. Wu Yu roared with a mighty force that shook the sky, and the sea water under his feet was surging. This heroic spirit is indeed mighty. This time he took the initiative to attack, stepping on the auspicious clouds, just like the Monkey King and the Fighting Buddha. Another fight? The dragons in the sky roared and roared, with steel and iron bones, baring their teeth and claws, and fighting. Another big melee. Wu Yu and the dragons, killing the world, fighting the universe. In this world of one long stick, piercing the sky, stirring up the sea, killing the world, and shaking the earth. Amidst the roar of the dragons, he was still so dazzling with golden anger all over his body. On this battlefield, the fear is not being inferior to the opponent, but being timid. This is a battle of the heart. For Wu Yu, the pressure and hardships he endured in this battle were much weaker than forging his indestructible body. Therefore, after experiencing more terrifying training, it is now a piece of cake for him. With the support of the spiritual will of the Monkey King, he is not much at a disadvantage in the rush of dragons. This battle lasted for a day and a night on the Golden Sea. This time, the duration of persistence is twice as long as the last time. Those golden dragons continued to collapse, shattered under Wu Yu's stick, and turned into a torrent into the sea. Then they condensed again in the sea and fought again. During this day, when there were the least dragons, there were even about 1,000 left. But later, as Wu Yu inevitably became tired, more dragons regenerated, and he gained an overwhelming advantage. However, such an intensive battle that tested his willpower had already brought Wu Yu a huge harvest. When he was mentally confused again, he withdrew again. "Boy, don't come again. Be careful next time, we will really make you an idiot. Next time, I will come to conquer you again. Since I have obtained the 10,000 dragon stick, you will be conquered by me sooner or later." Wu Yu was unwilling. However, he did not find it strange. This was normal. The more powerful the opponent was, the more precious and terrifying the 10,000 dragon stick was. After coming out, he continued to recuperate and sleep. Occasionally, he used the Dao Yuan Shen pill to expand the Purple Mansion Sea, and transformed his own understanding into the Purple Mansion Yuan Li, which gathered in the sea. This deadly battle, melee, and battle of mental will brought huge gains. After recuperation, he entered again in the depressed eyes of tens of thousands of golden dragons. It was simply unkillable. This tenacity really made many dragons waver in their hearts. Fight again. This time, the battle lasted for nearly 2 days. Come out again, recuperate again, expand the sea again, fight again. So on and so forth, the fighting time is getting longer and longer, and the recuperation time is getting shorter and shorter. 10 times in a row. Wu Yu did not defeat the dragon, but he relied on this huge gain, several years of deep cultivation in the past period of time, and some Dao Yuan Shen pills to truly enter the 7th level of the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm. Breakthrough, success. After achieving the 7th level of the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm, the Purple Mansion Yuan Li improved, and in fact, the spirit also became stronger. In fact, it is not far from achieving the Yuan Shen. It's a pity that all the pills with similar effects such as Dao Yuan Shen pills have been used up, and the clones can't follow him to further improve. This is a bit of a pity. He still needs a lot of Dao Yuan Shen pills. Even a huge amount. Unfortunately, without background, I may have to rely on myself. This chapter is not over yet, please click the next page to continue reading. Come again. The breakthrough in realm is his biggest chance. When he entered the spiritual world of One Long Stick again, he was already strong and tenacious, leaving One Long speechless. Why is it here again? Depressed. The ghost is still lingering. What should I do? He seems to have become stronger. If this goes on, will One Long Stick be mastered by a little guy who is not even in the Yuan Shen realm? His ability is not even worthy of carrying shoes for other masters. But, His tenacity is unprecedented and will never be surpassed. Wu Yu was even more straightforward this time, and he started the battle without saying a word. Killing all around. After the realm breakthrough, this time, he was really unstoppable. He already knew these dragons quite well, understood their attack methods, and understood their level. Boom boom boom. As the sea rolled, dragons flew all over the sky, their momentum soared to the sky. Wu Yu fought against all directions with a stick. Wherever he went, the dragons would surround him. This time, Wu Yu was stronger and more energetic. The stronger his body was, the more immortal he would be. The will to fight and the spirit of not giving up had been integrated into his flesh and blood. At this moment, he released his heaven-defying fighting power. Break, 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 wherever the stick went, the dragons were shattered. Fight, fight, fight. No retreat, no giving up, only fighting to the death. This time, Wu Yu didn't count the time at all. He only knew that there were fewer and fewer dragons, and the speed at which they were destroyed had exceeded the speed at which they were reborn. Even if they were reborn, Wu Yu would quickly send them to the vast sea. He entered a state of selflessness. The dragons were not afraid of pain, but they would also be tired, even fearful, and depressed. Wu Yu's impacts again and again hit their hearts. Boom! Boom! The sound of the sky swept across the vast sea, setting off a storm. Die! Wu Yu was so crazy about killing that at a certain moment, he suddenly found that there was no opponent on the entire Canghai. The dragons were all gone, or rather, they had been killed. Boy, you won, you succeeded. A golden dragon had just been reborn and appeared in front of Wu Yu. Wu Yu was about to deal with him, but he was a little unwilling and said so. Did it work? Wu Yu hadn't reacted yet. Now he looked around and saw that the dragons were all under his feet, slowly reborn. Yes. Although there is only the purple mansion Canghai, your willpower is amazing, which is rare in the ages. We brothers lost with conviction. From today on, you are the new owner of the world's infinite 10,000 dragon stick. His success was that the ritual of refining took effect. Wu Yu felt that his spiritual will and power, his imprint, were sweeping through the 10,000 dragon stick. He gradually occupied this world and the entire sky. A large number of magic arrays began to appear in the sky. He could clearly see these magic arrays and understand them. This is exactly the scene that will appear when you master a Taoist weapon or a magic weapon. Indeed, it succeeded. Wu Yu was ecstatic. At this time, tens of thousands of dragons appeared and surrendered at his feet. He succeeded and conquered them. Hard work pays off. Above the sky and the sea, there are dense arrays. Looking around, there are at least more than 100,000 arrays. It is definitely a high-level Taoist weapon. But Wu Yu was stunned. He found that he seemed to be unable to fully master it. The one long stick had so many arrays, but it didn't seem to be all. You should know that we are not the most important weapon spirit of the one long stick. You defeated us and only mastered a part of it. The core part of the one long stick is mastered by the infinite giant beast, and the other 100,000 arrays are also in the hands of the infinite giant beast. However, you have to be in the realm of Yuan Shen to fight against the infinite giant. This is the rule set by the creator of the one long stick. Of course, although you can only master half of it, the power of the one long stick is already at the level of a high-level Taoist weapon. I didn't expect it to be like this. However, Wu Yu was still quite satisfied. Even if he only mastered half of it, it was still a spiritual weapon. Where is the infinite beast? The dragons looked down and said, of course it is in this vast sea. The remaining 100,000 arrays are also in this vast sea. Wu Yu looked down. Sure enough, in the depths of this golden red vast sea, there seemed to be a huge shadow. That shadow was infinite and huge, lurking in the depths of the vast sea. That was the core of the infinite 10,000 dragon stick in the world. Infinite beast. Wait for me to challenge you. The more than 100,000 arrays above were enough for him to ponder for a long time. Among them, the main array is called the infinite great array in the world. The infinite power is in it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 636. Chapter 630 Demon Flame God General. No matter what, even if Wu Yu could not completely master it, at least Wu Yu had become its master and could exert the power of the upper spiritual weapon. That was enough. Although his purple mansion energy was the 7th level, it was of extremely high quality, and the quality of the great heavenly immortal technique was almost at the level of the 9th level or above of the purple mansion Kanghai realm. With the violent technique, the divine movement technique, and the immortal body of the Dragon King Buddha, and now the upper spiritual weapon that no one else had, it was not a problem to defeat the opponent by crossing 7 levels unbelievably. The most important thing was the immortal body of the Dragon King Buddha. Of course, there were also the 3 great magical powers that defied the heavens, the clone, the fire eyes and the golden pupils, and the recent clone outside the law. Each of these methods from the great sage equaling heaven and the fighting Buddha was a treasure of the world, and the inheritance of immortals was more important than the floating life tower. On him, except for the realm that was not enough, everything else was the top and the most perfect. No one at his level could reach his level. The appearance of the infinite 10,000 dragon stick in the world turned Wu Yu's only shortcoming in the Taoist weapon into an advantage that no one else could match. Only those who truly understand him know how amazing he is. When Wu Yu came out of the world of dragons and finished the ritual, he fought in the floating life tower with the heavy infinite 10,000 dragon stick in the world in his hand. Wu Yu was excited and stared at the 10,000 dragon stick. What he could feel now was the 100,000 magic arrays on the outer layer of this upper spiritual Taoist weapon. The other 100,000 controlled by the infinite beast were in the core position, which required Wu Yu to have the Yuan Shen to truly challenge. Several of the attack arrays were also in the core position, so Wu Yu could not use the attack arrays for the time being. Of course, the main array combined with the 100,000 magic arrays, just ordinary attacks, were not at the same level as Wu Yu's previous Hanhai Tyrannosaurus pillar. Now, Wu Yu injected the upgraded Zifu Yuanli into the 10,000 dragon stick for the first time. For a moment, on the dark body of the Wanlong stick, the relief of the 10,000 little dragons shone with golden light and burned with fire. All the little dragons came to life. The Wanlong stick was like a vast ocean to them. The 10,000 dragons wandered, galloped, and roared freely in this vast ocean. Wu Yu could feel the relief of the little dragons constantly drilling in and out of his hand while holding the Wanlong stick. The Wanlong stick seemed to be activated and awakened completely now. From the vast metal sea, it can be seen how much power the stick contains. Holding the Wanlong stick, even Wu Yu felt more arrogant. The invisible momentum, especially the physical body, has surpassed many people. Power. After possessing the Wanlong stick, when he waved it casually, the Purple Palace Yuanli activated and operated the 100,000 magic arrays. The magic arrays were precise and stimulated each other. What Wu Yu felt was an unprecedented and terrifying sense of power. It is conceivable that if he were to use the heavenly and earthly laws, followed by the violent law, and finally wield this supreme spiritual instrument, how powerful it would be. Wu Yu thought carefully, when I first came to the ancient immortal road, my strength was actually the lowest among so many people. But now, it seems that except for a few dozen people who are close to the level of Emperor Li, most of the geniuses from the entire Yanfa world are not my opponents. This kind of progress is actually unimaginable. Wu Yu was a little confused. It turns out that my current achievements can be ranked among the geniuses in the entire Yanfa world. The Yanfa world is so huge that he has already exceeded his expectations to get to this point. Therefore, before this, he often kept a low profile and hid everywhere. Unfortunately, now that he thinks carefully, many of his forbearance and hiding seem to be unnecessary. In fact, most of the forbearance is for Dongsheng Shenzhou and for his relatives. But this is not a reason not to explode. After possessing such a supreme spiritual instrument, Wu Yu's thoughts began to change. In fact, in the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm, you are a rare treasure. Everyone envies you, but you are also jealous of you. How to strike a balance between hiding, forbearing, and not suppressing your inner self depends on you. Hidden and forbearing all the time will hurt your Tao heart and make you hide and timid. If you release yourself, be unruly, and defeat the heroes, you will attract more attention and attract murderous intentions. If you are not careful, you may be able to escape. The most feared thing is to hurt your relatives. Ming Long made sense. It is indeed necessary to grasp this degree. Forbearance is not okay, but excessive outbursts and lawlessness are not okay either. He began to have an idea in his mind. He needed to think clearly about what to do and what not to do. As for what to do next, he had two ideas. The first, of course, is to strike while the iron is hot and challenge the puppet guards of the floating life tower. The Blood and Lightning God is very powerful, but there has been no opportunity to use it. Now that Wu Yu is stronger, he is qualified to challenge stronger puppets. He summoned 9 kinds of puppets in the floating life tower. Then, he jumped 7 levels and challenged the puppets in the black magic circle. He wanted to try the power of this upper spiritual weapon. The immortal puppet is of course the best choice. Le Daizi and the Blue Ring Poison Demon are both dead, and now no one knows that Wu Yu has obtained the floating life tower. So, in fact, he can even use the puppets boldly. After summoning 9 puppets, he walked towards the puppet he chose, which was equivalent to the 4th level of the Yuanshen Waxing realm. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. You know, this puppet is more powerful than the emperor. In the entire Dongsheng Shenzhou, the strongest are Yanhuang City Lord and Taixu Saint Lord, who are only at the 5th level of the Yuanshen Waxing realm. If you think about it carefully, even if he returns to Dongsheng Shenzhou now, he might be able to deal with Tianhai Yufu and Duomingshan Shensu. This rapid progress gave Wu Yu more confidence. The road to becoming an immortal, the road to rising, has actually reached the most critical stage. After Wu Yu chose the puppet, the other puppets disappeared one after another, the black magic circle suddenly disappeared, and the puppet guard comparable to the 4th level of the Yuanshen Waxing realm appeared in front of Wu Yu. Buzz! It is indeed a very good puppet. As soon as it appears, its momentum sweeps over, which is even higher than that of the Blood and Lightning God. Compared with the Blood and Lightning God, the body of this puppet is much smaller, only the size of a baby. It is covered with black steel treasures, just like a coke. A pair of bat wings grows behind it, which makes it fly in the air when it flashes, and it holds a pistol in its hand. Only a pair of eyes are blood red, and blood and fire are burning inside, making the puppet guard who looks like a baby weird, bloodthirsty, and cold. Don't look at the puppet's small size. There are so many complex magic arrays hidden in this small body. All the magic arrays now promote each other and operate. I am the demon flame god. Although the puppet guard looks like a baby, his voice is very rough, like an old man. As soon as the demon flame god finished speaking, he immediately rushed over with the pistol. Although the body is small, the speed is very fast, faster than the lightning speed of the Blood and Lightning God. The puppet opened its mouth and spit out blood-red flames. Although its mouth was small, the blood-red flames it spit out were very shocking. Wu Yu's body would be burned if it encountered such flames. In an instant, the entire Fusheng Tower was filled with such blood-red flames. This flame was bloody and even contained the atmosphere of wronged souls. It should be a magic array created by the method of ghost cultivation. When blood and fire touched the body, not only the body was burned and corroded, but also the spirit and soul were burned and stung. The demon flame god general whistled and turned around Wu Yu, constantly spewing blood and fire, sweeping towards Wu Yu, and the short gun in his hand turned into countless, and the sky was full of gun shadows, piercing. Get out! In the blood and fire, Wu Yu could clearly find the position of the demon flame god general. If he didn't explode, it would be fine, but once he exploded, it would be earth-shaking. Holding the infinite dragon stick in the world, in one move, it was like thousands of dragons galloping and roaring. Under the magic movement, the speed soared. In a blink of an eye, he rushed to the front of the demon flame god general, and with a fierce stick, he fell from the sky and smashed on the top of the demon flame god general's head. Bang! The demon flame god general fell to the ground, and his whole head was flattened. This is just the power of this upper spiritual weapon, a random stick. If you use the Han-Hai Tyrannosaurus pillar, such a stick, considering the material of the demon flame god general, it is difficult to hurt it. For the puppet, a flat head is nothing. The demon flame god general quickly got up, and this time a blood-red magic circle suddenly appeared on his chest, about half a foot in diameter. At this time, the blood-red magic circle was running, like a huge mouth, spewing a lot of blood and fire at once, and all the space in the floating life tower was completely engulfed by the blood and fire. Wu Yu was also surrounded by the blood and fire, and even ghosts appeared in the blood and fire, biting Wu Yu's body and soul. It was really painful. If it were someone else, the flesh would have been burned to ashes by this time. Wu Yu was able to hold on. Although he had the upper spiritual weapon in his hand, he did not get cocky this time. Law of heaven and earth. At this moment, his body instantly grew larger, like a giant, 3 feet tall, and the one long stick also grew larger, like a huge pillar. Break. With his fiery eyes and golden pupils, he easily found the position again. This time, he used 3 times the power and smashed it with a stick. At the same time, the purple palace Xuanhuan activated the Taoist weapon array, and the power of the one long stick was stimulated again. The demon flame god general had no time to dodge and was hit by Wu Yu again. However, under Wu Yu's heavy blow, the demon flame god general was hit on the ground with a stick and turned into a discus. The internal array and so on were all destroyed. Wu Yu only made 2 shots and solved the opponent cleanly and neatly. Since then, he has successfully mastered the demon flame god general. After getting it done, Wu Yu was indeed very satisfied with the power of the upper spiritual weapon. It is absolutely safe inside the fusion tower, but he must get out. I don't know, with the hardness of this spiritual weapon, can it break open the bronze door? Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng-Qing Yang. Chapter 637. Now his strength has improved greatly again. In addition, it is difficult to make other progress in a short time if he stays in the floating life tower, and the vast grassland outside is endless, so he once again thought of the black candle he got before. Black candles, if nothing unexpected happens, are probably the keys to all the upper spiritual instruments. If I can get a few more. Wu Yu tasted the sweetness of the upper spiritual instruments, and there may be only one chance, so he wanted to enter the mausoleum again. The upper spiritual instruments gave him new confidence, and he just wanted to get the candles, not to pry open the gold and silver coffins. Emperor Le and the others wanted to pry open the gold and silver coffins, and finally got into trouble. Let's go, I'm curious, what's in the coffin? Wu Yu came out of the floating life tower, put away the floating life tower, and returned to the ground. It seemed that more than 10 days had passed outside, and there was no change. There were not many people around. The grassland was still empty and boundless. Perhaps most people have already left here and explored further. Wu Yu took advantage of the fact that no one was around and quickly headed towards the mausoleum. On the way, he met a few people, but they seemed a little bored. Perhaps because they had no gains, they just walked around and chatted casually on the grassland. It is said that Wu Yu got the upper spiritual weapon. Do you believe it? Wu Yu just heard someone say it. Anyway, there is a spiritual weapon that has been obtained by someone. It is not clear who it is. Maybe it is Wu Yu. However, it is unlikely that he has the ability to break the magic circle. I think it may be someone else. It is hard to say. This Wu Yu is very strange. He is obviously in the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm, but he can be so strong. What else is impossible? Emperor Yu is gone now, and the ancient country of Yanhuang is leaderless. Otherwise, he would probably be taken back to the ancient country of Yanhuang and focused on training. Speaking of which, Wu Yu has disappeared for many days. So many people have looked for him, but they can't find him. This person is really amazing. You can hide for a while, but you can't hide forever. When he is found by the strong, it will be clear whether he has obtained the spiritual weapon. This is similar to what Wu Yu expected. Such a big event will always be reported. He didn't say much and continued to move forward. Soon he appeared near the mausoleum. Beside the mausoleum, there were a few people wandering around, occasionally looking at the hole behind the tombstone, wanting to go in but not daring to go in. It is said that Emperor Yu died miserably at that time. Even a person like him will die in the ancient immortal road. We'd better not go in and take risks. It is said that the immortal shark has become a corpse puppet and will live here forever. It's so pitiful. It is said that Wu Yu killed the immortal shark. His physical body is strong and unprecedented. If this matter gets out, no matter whether Wu Yu is the murderer or not, he will anger the immortal demon clan and he will be finished. At this time, Wu Yu had already used the law of heaven and earth to change to the smallest and fastest speed. He started to accelerate from a long distance and rushed over on the sword. When he arrived near the tombstone, under the blessing of the magic of walking, his speed reached the fastest. Swoosh! The person chatting didn't see him at all. Wu Yu had already entered the mausoleum. Why did I feel that there was movement here just now? It seems that a gust of wind went in, another person said. This place is too weird. Let's go quickly. If you don't leave, I will go first. The third person shuddered and left in a hurry. Wait. The others also left. In the mausoleum, Wu Yu hung the floating life tower on his body, and held the 10,000 dragon stick, a spiritual weapon, in his hand. This time he wanted to rely on the spiritual weapon to see if there was any gain, so he had to take out the 10,000 dragon stick to fight. He summoned the blood and lightning god general from the floating life tower and placed it at the entrance of the mausoleum, and ordered, whoever comes in, drive him out. In fact, in this mausoleum, the floating life tower is not affected by the magic circle, and the blood and lightning god general is as powerful as before. Even Emperor Yu is definitely not the opponent of the blood and lightning god general, so let him guard here, basically no one can come in. Wu Yu took the demon flame god general and went deep into the mausoleum together. He moved swiftly and without any delay. After the magic circle in the maze disappeared, the outline of the entire mausoleum passage was very clear in Wu Yu's mind. He arrived in front of the bronze gate in less than 10 breaths. In the mausoleum, the demon flame god general was faster. Wu Yu first stepped forward, wanting to figure it out like Bailey Xuanhuan. Under heavy pressure, the other party quickly cracked the magic circle, and he thought he might be able to do it. As a result, he tragically found that he was completely confused and had no clue. It seems that in terms of magic circle attainments, he is still far behind Bailey Xuanhuan, who has systematic guidance. Not long after standing in this place, a cold breath came from behind him. The demon flame god general had already reminded him. Looking back, one by one, corpse puppets began to climb up from the ground of the passage. There were as many as 20, and the leader was still the eternal shark. After looking at all the corpse puppets, he found that there was no Le Dizi. Wu Yu felt a little less depressed. At least Le Dizi and the others did not become corpse puppets here. It is still very difficult to deal with so many corpse puppets alone. This time, he has the 10,000 dragon stick in his hand and the demon flame god general is assisting him. Wu Yu is not afraid. He gave up thinking about the bronze door and wanted to deal with these corpse puppets first. So, he rushed forward with the demon flame god general. Although his flesh body was not very strong, and the power of the upper spirit Taoist weapon could not be fully exerted, the lethality of its material was also very terrifying. Wu Yu was swift and more flexible than the corpse puppets. He rushed directly into the group of corpse puppets and started killing them. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. However, the demon flame god general was still more powerful. After all, he could cast many magic arrays. Wu Yu simply summoned all the other puppets. Anyway, they would not die, so they could be used to restrain some corpse puppets. These corpse puppets only had the power of the flesh body. In fact, they were not that scary when placed outside. For example, the eternal shark could be dealt with by an ordinary second level of the Yuan Shen waxing realm. So Wu Yu took a closer look and found that even if he did not take action, the demon flame god general and other puppets could restrain the corpse puppets. He directly faced the eternal shark. With a few rough sticks, he knocked the Taoist weapon of the eternal shark away, and then knocked it to the ground. With more than 30 sticks in a row, he blasted the eternal shark into meat paste. The eternal shark finally couldn't continue, and fell silent on the ground of the passage, disappearing into thin air. The other puppets were also torn to pieces by the demon flame god. Wu Yu saw that the demon flame god could hold on, so he turned his attention to the bronze gate. He had just fought with the eternal shark, which had aroused all his murderous intent and fighting spirit. Now, he regarded the bronze gate as his enemy, and he carried the infinite dragon stick all the way, using his legs to gain leverage on the ground, and each step was more ferocious than the last. In the blink of an eye, he rushed to the front of the bronze gate. Roar, accumulate power, and explode. Boom. Wu Yu had attacked the gate before, but it had no effect. This time, he was even more ferocious. With one stick, the bronze gate shook violently. Of course, Wu Yu didn't expect to be able to break the door with one stick. Boom boom boom. Next, he smashed it with one stick after another. At least he didn't have to worry about the dragon stick breaking under the force. The noise caused by this bombardment was too loud. If there were people around, they would notice it and come in. At this time, Wu Yu's blood lightning god general outside could come in handy. He didn't know how many times he had beaten it, sparks flew everywhere, and Wu Yu was furious, but the bronze door was closed tightly. Relying on the strength of his body and the hardness of the 10,000 dragon stick, Wu Yu found that even if he had bombarded it hundreds of times, he really couldn't get in here and get the candle. It actually failed. Wu Yu thought that there was a certain possibility of success. He could only give up. He turned around and the demon flame god general was still suppressing those corpse puppets. He was really angry. There were two stone lions on the left and right in front of him. These stone lions were very ordinary on both sides of the gate. Wu Yu vented his anger on the stone lions. The bronze door couldn't be smashed open, but the stone lions couldn't withstand Wu Yu's anger, and Wu Yu beat them to pieces with 2 consecutive sticks. After smashing them, Wu Yu's anger disappeared. He summoned the demon flame god general and was about to kill his way out and leave here. Suddenly, he noticed some changes. However, it was not the bronze gate that changed, but the entire mausoleum. Roaring and collapsing. Wu Yu was also frightened. He immediately realized that it might be because of something. After smashing the door for a long time, there was only one door away from the candles, but he couldn't get in. In a hurry, he smashed the stone lion. As a result, it seemed that something happened. First, the corpse puppet sank immediately after seeing this. Then, the entire mausoleum began to shake. Buzz buzz buzz. The walls and the ground began to tear cracks, and it seemed that the entire mausoleum was about to collapse. How could it collapse? Looking back, the bronze gate was also shaking violently, and the surrounding walls were shaking. In the trembling, the gap in the door was a little cracked, and through the gap in the door, Wu Yu could vaguely see the coffin inside. Of course, there was also what he wanted, the black candle. Maybe the mausoleum seemed to be collapsing. Wu Yu was also very brave at this time. Instead of running out, he picked up the one long stick and smashed it up. He couldn't smash it just now, but now it's loose, so he can smash it, right? The opportunity came, he continued to grab it and smashed it to death. With the collapse of the entire mausoleum, Wu Yu found that it was really possible for him to rush out. The mausoleum collapsed, and it was very likely that the first thing to collapse was the magic circle. In this process, Wu Yu gradually discovered that his purple mansion Yuanli was not suppressed. This is a great thing. This means that many magical powers can be used. He first performed the law of heaven and earth, increasing his strength several times, and then used violent magic. Boom! A heavy blow. Unexpectedly, this time, the door was really blasted open by Wu Yu. Success. I recommend a book All Heavens and Worlds to everyone. The author is Xiaomixel. This is a masterpiece, very good, very awesome, and has a lot of words. Also, there is a 30-day limited free, completely free, hurry up and read it. In addition, there will be 2 updates today, and 3 more tomorrow. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 638. The mausoleum collapsed, the Zi mansion's original energy returned, and magical powers could be used. Therefore, Wu Yu really blasted the door open with all his strength. Of course, this bronze gate was about to collapse. After blasting the door open, Wu Yu rushed in without saying a word. He saw the 8 walls, the gold and silver coffin that was shaking and shaking, and the black candle on the high platform, which was also falling down at this time. Fall down. Without saying a word, he stretched out his hand and rolled it up, and dozens of candles entered his hand. Now that the sumuru bag was ready for use, Wu Yu quickly put these black candles into the sumuru bag. It's done, Wu Yu was overjoyed, even ecstatic. If he took these candles out, not all of the spiritual tools would be in his pocket. This is just like a dream, extremely incredible. There was no time to rejoice, he naturally knew that it was time to retreat immediately. This collapsed mausoleum gave him a feeling of extreme danger. The moment he retreated, the gold and silver coffin in front of him suddenly trembled violently. Bang bang bang. Both coffins were shaking as if someone was banging inside. In this situation, Wu Yu had to be nervous. He used the magic of heaven and earth to directly shrink his body to the smallest size, and then rushed out. At this time, the corpse puppet didn't know where it was. Wu Yu directly took the demon flame god general in the fusion tower. Boom! Something seemed to explode behind me. When he was trying to escape with all his strength, he looked back for a moment. What made him a little horrified was that he saw that the lids of the pair of coffins had exploded, and thick gray smoke filled the air. In the thick smoke, you can vaguely see gray tentacles stretching out, waving around. That's right. Wu Yu's golden eyes swept across the golden coffin, and he could clearly see where 3 people were entangled by the tentacles on the golden coffin. From the gap, you could see that the bodies of these 3 people had all turned into gold, and you could even see their heads, eyes, and ears. The mouth and nose are all golden, including the hair and skin. The three of them are as if they are made of gold. Of course Wu Yu knows them. They are Emperor Zui, Xuanhuan and Bailey Xuanhuan respectively. Their expressions were dull, without energy or intelligence. They stared blankly ahead, looking at Wu Yu. This kind of dull gaze, compared with the previous ones, simply sent chills down one's spine. On the other side, surrounded by the tentacles on the silver coffin, there was also a person. That was Chu Fenjiao, and her whole body turned into silver. Wu Yu quickly moved away from them and only glanced at them. But in the end, out of the corner of his eye, he saw the tentacles on the golden coffin, which seemed to be reaching towards him. This frightened Wu Yu to the point of trembling inside. The pair of coffins in the mausoleum were extremely weird. There was no telling what the hell was inside. Wu Yu didn't want to become like the emperor and the others. He used the magic of heaven, earth, and magic to the extreme, and rushed out crazily. At least his speed was guaranteed. The tomb was not big. In the blink of an eye, Wu Yu met his blood and lightning general. This shows that here it's already an exit. He quickly brought the blood and lightning god general into the fusion tower, rushed out, and successfully left the mausoleum. However, he was not out of danger, but felt that the danger was getting closer. There was a nightmare-like feeling behind him. He was already close now. Wu Yu broke out in a cold sweat. He suddenly turned around and saw that the tentacles were behind him, winding towards him. Roll. The infinite 10,000 dragon stick in the world in Wu Yu's hand was still there. He roared angrily and suddenly hit the tentacle with the stick. With a bang, he pulled the tentacle back to the mausoleum. However, Wu Yu did not hurt it. I'm going to reach out again soon. This grey tentacle is very disgusting. There are many bumps and holes on it. It seems that there are pairs of eyes hidden in the holes. Wu Yu continued to turn around and fled as fast as possible. With the vast sea and sky outside the grassland, he did not believe that he could not escape. And at this time, the tomb beneath his feet shook violently, and the ground outside the grassland was collapsing. It should be that the entire tomb below had collapsed. Even the exposed tombstones had collapsed by this time. This tombstone has existed for too long, and now it is cracking and completely shattered. After the tomb collapsed, Wu Yu escaped for a long time and flew slightly higher in the sky. He unexpectedly found that the tentacles seemed to have disappeared, as if he was safe at this moment. Just now, this ghost thing really scared me. Wu Yu was still holding the 10,000 dragon stick tightly in his hand, touching his chest, and his face was pale. Me too. Mingtong was trembling a little as he spoke. At this time, in the distance where their eyes reached, the ground was collapsing, and the tomb was completely destroyed. When Wu Yu thought that he had taken more than a dozen candles, he couldn't help but feel excited again. Great, life is really full of ups and downs. Sometimes, no one can predict what incredible things will happen in the next moment. For example, when Wu Yu thought he was out of danger and was excited, suddenly, the grassland, the sky, and the endless world collapsed with the collapse of the tomb. At this moment, Wu Yu experienced the real feeling of the earth falling apart. The sky cracked, tearing out countless cracks. Deep black light penetrated through the cracks. The same was true for the surrounding space. Even the grassland under his feet was instantly shattered. Crack. After the crack, then the twist. The whole world was rapidly distorting, just like the sea before, or the sea of clouds. During the distortion, Wu Yu was instantly involved in chaos, as if he was drifting in a river. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. How could Wu Yu not understand at this point that this grassland world was over? Maybe because they destroyed the tomb, they also had to leave this world. First in the star world, it was easy to leave, then in the Kanghai, where we needed to kill the three kings of all gods, and then in the Sea of Clouds, where we had to crack the mysterious door, but in this world, we actually wanted to destroy it. Tomb. Who set this up? Or did he destroy some key points by accident? Now, he's quickly drifting with the crowd. Fortunately for Wu Yu, he escaped from the tomb. Unfortunately, he found to his dismay that after all the hard work, he had obtained so many candles, but they seemed to be of no use. How could it be? Wu Yu suddenly became extremely depressed. He got the candle just to find the spiritual artifact. Now that the grasslands are gone, the spiritual artifact must have flown away. This depressed him almost to death. Just now, you risked your life and did useless work? Of course, many things in life are inherently useless. This depressed and unwilling mood really makes people vomit blood. As expected, it is still the same sentence. No one knows what will happen in the next moment. This kind of distortion and transformation actually only happened in an instant. The entire grassland and the entire world collapsed in an instant and disappeared completely, and then they stepped on the ground in an instant. When Wu Yu stepped on the ground, he knew that he had arrived somewhere else. The most regrettable thing is that the candles we worked so hard for were not used. However, he is also good at self-regulation. In the new environment, it can be said that preserving life may be more important, so he puts this matter in the back of his mind. In an instant, the distortion and changes ended, and the new place clearly appeared in front of Wu Yu's eyes. The first thing I saw was the dense crowd of people around me. They were all familiar people, probably everyone who was still on the Taku Immortal Road, and they all appeared next to Wu Yu. The closest one among them was less than 3 feet away from Wu Yu. You could see it when you looked up. Everyone, crowded together. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he roughly understood the surrounding environment. First of all, there is a pitch black soil under your feet, which is hard and dry. Every grain of sand is pure pitch black. The sky was also pitch black, without any starlight. What illuminates this world are countless purple lightning and thunder flying in the sky and even around. The entire sky, even around everyone, is covered with billions of endless, dense purple thunder. Crack, crackle, crackle. The sound of tearing lightning and thunder kept erupting all around. Vaguely, Wu Yu saw that everyone was trapped in a space with a diameter of only about 100 feet, surrounded by dense purple lightning and thunder, weaving into a large purple net. It was estimated that only Wu Yu had changed his body to the smallest extent to get out of this big net. However, even if there was a small gap, Wu Yu did not dare to penetrate it. Within this space, the purple lightning network is not completely closed. Diagonally opposite Wu Yu, there was a gap. There was a passage in the gap that led to who knows where. The passage was surrounded by a network of purple lightning. There is only one way out. Following the way out, Wu Yu saw that there seemed to be a very tall and huge mountain peak, similar to Qingtianshu Mountain. Very tall, very huge. The same is true of Qingtianshu Shan, with no end in sight. However, this mountain peak was also surrounded by dense purple lightning. Wu Yu could only glance at it from the corner of his eye and couldn't see clearly what was on this mountain peak. Being too close to others here, he didn't feel safe, so his first reaction was to protect himself. Weapon in hand. He lowered his head suddenly broke into a cold sweat, and said to himself, "This is terrible." 1 moment ago, he used the countless dragon sticks in the world to pull away the tentacles, and the next moment he appeared here. Perhaps because he was frightened by the tentacle, he subconsciously used the 10,000 dragon stick to increase his sense of security. He did not expect that after coming to the new world, so many people would appear around him. This resulted in that when he appeared here, many people around him naturally saw the Taoist weapon in his hand at the first moment. Unfortunately, there was an acquaintance near Wu Yu. He is the derivative of Jun. He had seen the 10,000 dragon stick, which was not far from Wu Yu's side. When he saw it, he immediately screamed, "Wu Yu," he said, "you didn't get the spiritual tool." This was the first sentence everyone said after arriving here, so it was particularly loud and could be heard by everyone at once. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 639. It was too late to pack it up now. Wu Yu was not careful enough, but the changes in the ancient immortal road were too mysterious and unpredictable. If Wu Yu had known this would happen, he would have hurriedly packed up the Wanlong stick. Now, many people have seen it, so even if he has put the Wanlong stick into the sumi bag, it is too late. Purple thunder flashed around, and electric snakes whizzed through the sky, exploding dazzling sparks. Go to the spiritual weapon. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. After hearing these 4 words, the geniuses of the Yamafa world who had just arrived here and had not carefully observed the surroundings all looked at Wu Yu one by one, and most of them saw the moment when he put away the Wanlong stick. There was no mistake. No one would doubt that they had seen it wrong at this time. For a moment, everyone's eyes were changing. Things like the upper spirit Dao instrument can inspire greed in everyone's heart. After all, this is what everyone desires. So, Wu Yu clearly saw that the eyes around him were full of hostility and greed. He looked like a fat sheep, and now he entered the wolf pack, and everyone in the wolf pack was a hungry wolf. They have been hungry for a long time, and now they look at Wu Yu's eyes with red light. Wu Yu had expected that they would be like this after they found their gains. It's still the same saying, a man is innocent, but he is guilty of holding a treasure. For them, Wu Yu is now extremely guilty. Practicing is plundering. Since I have exposed my property, I should not be surprised or worried about the arrival of plunderers. Everything depends on who is strong and who fights. Wu Yu was calm in his heart. Wu Yu. The strong men in the crowd, whether they were demons or humans, squeezed out others and strode towards Wu Yu. At this time, the upper spirit Dao instrument successfully snatched away their curiosity about this new world of thunder. Many familiar faces appeared in front of Wu Yu, such as the cold and treacherous Princess Yuyan, the cold demon 9-star Snow Chi, the majestic demon 8-winged Golden Peng, and other powerful people, surrounded Wu Yu one by one. The upper spiritual weapon is not something you should take, hand it over. The 9-star Snow Chi had a dispute with Wu Yu a long time ago. Last time, he was thrown away by Wu Yu and lost face. Now that he saw Wu Yu, he didn't take action immediately, which was already very good. Wu Yu actually gave up. He smiled and said, hand it over? Who should I give it to? You all want it? I can't just give it to you. If I have to give it, it should be for us human cultivators. Princess Yuyan quickly replied, Wu Yu, give it to me. I will give you a treasure suitable for you, and I promise you that I will give you protection. She really thought Wu Yu would hand it over. Wu Yu shook his head and said, it's troublesome, it's really troublesome. There is only one upper spiritual weapon, but there are too many people who want it. Should I just throw it away, or what should I do? When everyone saw that he was not afraid at all, they knew that Wu Yu had no intention of handing over the upper spiritual weapon. However, everyone did not take action for the time being. First, there were too many competitors and the space here was too narrow. Second, Wu Yu was holding the ancient immortal talisman. Once there was danger, he would definitely leave and would never let the upper spiritual weapon be taken away. I really don't know how Wu Yu got the upper spiritual weapon. So many strong people can't do anything. Everyone was very depressed. For a while, the hungry wolves surrounded Wu Yu, but there was only one bite of meat, and it could slip away at any time. Who would eat it was the most difficult problem, so they were actually tit for tat between each other. Wu Yu suddenly laughed out loud, destroying the tense atmosphere. He calmly found a person in the crowd and said, I am from the ancient country of Yanhuang. Even if I get the upper spiritual weapon, even if I want to hand it over, it is not the turn of others. Right. The people of the ancient country of Yanhuang still occupy a large camp here. Although there is no Dizi, it is also a force that cannot be underestimated. After Dizi was gone, there was a new leader in the team. Wu Yu knew this person. It seems that he was the son of the prince of the East region who held a high position and had royal blood in the ancient country of Yanhuang. He was called the Little Prince. As for his name, Wu Yu didn't know. Everyone called him the Little Prince. This little prince was not tall, a little thin, and had a childish face. He looked careless and slick. His strength was estimated to be about the same as Xuanhuan. Now that Dizi and others were gone, the people of the ancient country of Yanhuang naturally took him as the leader. Little Prince, I am from the ancient country of Yanhuang, but they say that I am not worthy of this upper spiritual weapon. I think that if I really don't have the qualifications, I should hand it over to the brothers of the ancient country of Yanhuang, right? Today's Wu Yu is not the same as before. The little prince's strength here is not strong, but the ancient country of Yanhuang is strong, and others dare not provoke it. Of course he knows that Wu Yu is holding a treasure and has come to his side. The reason is very clear. In fact, it is impossible for others to snatch Wu Yu's upper spiritual weapon. They are afraid that they will threaten Wu Yu with Dongsheng Shenzhou, relatives, etc. Although it is a loss of status to threaten Wu Yu openly, it is related to the treasure, especially the demons, who are likely to use this method. The little prince, of course, covets the upper spiritual weapon. He didn't know what the upper spiritual weapon was, and he was itching, when Wu Yu suddenly found him. He said immediately, "Yes, this is the treasure obtained by my ancient country of Yanhuang. Let's see who dares to snatch it." Having this opportunity, he waved to Wu Yu and asked him to go to their side. The other strong men were naturally annoyed. "Little Prince, don't forget that Emperor Yu has passed away," another evil demon said. The young prince said, "So what? In the ancient immortal road, basically whoever gets the treasure will own it. Now that Wu Yu has it, he can leave at any time with the ancient immortal talisman, and you can't snatch it away. Why waste your time? It's better to spend some time to see if there are more treasures here." Sure enough, the 9-star Snow Chi said, "If he can escape from here, can he escape from Dongsheng Shenzhou? If he dares to go out, I will go out immediately and lead people to attack Dongsheng Shenzhou, making this demon-sealed continent uneasy." The young prince's face turned cold, and he said, "You are so brave. Dongsheng Shenzhou is the 4th continent of my Yanhuang ancient country and the territory of my Yanhuang ancient country. If you dare to invade, I will immediately send someone out to report to my father and let my Yanhuang army flatten your 9-star sea." The 9-star Snow Chi is stronger than the young prince, but in terms of the power behind him, the prince of the East region is indeed not someone he can provoke. Wu Yu knew very well that the young prince wanted to get the upper spiritual weapon, so the first step he had to take was to get rid of the others. Wu Yu was afraid that the other party would make trouble outside, and the young prince could just solve this problem for him. After the young prince said this, Juxing Suechi was really furious. Being caught in the middle, Wu Yu was actually also angry. He knew that it was precisely because of his lack of strength that he could not protect Dongsheng Shenzhou, and others threatened him with this place everywhere. What he lacked was background. Someone who could protect him, otherwise, in terms of talent and strength, he was no worse than anyone here. The young prince laughed and said, "Let me say this first. To rob Wu Yu's things is to rob the things of my ancient country of Yanhuang. The upper spiritual weapon is not an ordinary thing. Our elders are all concerned about it. Who wants to threaten Wu Yu with Dongsheng Shenzhou? I tell you, no way. Wu Yu, why don't you come over?" Wu Yu went over, of course. "This kid wants to keep you by his side and slowly take away your treasure," Ming Long sneered. Wu Yu knew it in his heart. But now that the one long stick was exposed, he had to use this method. He looked at everyone vigilantly. At this time, no one took action. It was probably because they were afraid that Wu Yu would leave here. The most troublesome thing about the ancient immortal road is that if the weak get the treasure and leave directly, even the strong can't do anything. They can only go out and rob again, but in fact, some weak people have terrifying power outside. Wu Yu successfully gathered with the little prince and others. Don't worry, with me here, no one can threaten you with Dongsheng Shenzhou, and no one can take your things away. The little prince laughed, patted his shoulder, and said enthusiastically. Indeed, the others looked coldly and did not take action for the time being. They also felt that the opportunity was not good. Thank you very much, little prince. Wu Yu has also helped Emperor Li with some small favors before. If the little prince favors, Wu Yu will naturally do it. He bowed and said seriously. Okay, then from today on, you will stay with me. When we return to the ancient country of Yanhuang, you will have a place there. The young prince knew that Wu Yu would not give him the one long stick now, but as long as Wu Yu stayed with him, there would be plenty of opportunities. Others could not offend Dongsheng Shenzhou, but he could, because he was from the ancient country of Yanhuang, and it was not considered an invasion to go to Dongsheng Shenzhou and kill people. However, Wu Yu was also very clear about his thoughts. He knew that he urgently needed a way to protect his family, otherwise, no matter how strong he would be in the future, he would be led by the nose. At this time, it was estimated that everyone felt that it was difficult to get the upper spiritual weapon in a short time, so they gradually shifted their attention to the passage in the gap of lightning in front of them. That passage seemed to lead to a huge mountain in front of them, which was like Optimus Prime. People looked at the top from a distance. Through the purple lightning, something could be vaguely seen. There seems to be a palace on the top of the mountain, all kinds of palaces. It's like there is a sect there. The ancient immortal road is really unpredictable. We have stayed here for such a long time and have good luck again and again. Except for that terrifying mausoleum, everything is fine. Yes, it's not as scary as the legend says. However, the things on the top of the mountain have a sense of splendor and are really attractive. I have a hunch that more spiritual instruments will appear here, someone said. Sorry, I'm late again today. There will be 3 updates tomorrow. I still have to get up early to write. I have a bad schedule. I feel drowsy during the day and excited at night. I'm trying to adjust. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 640. If it weren't for the fact that Wu Yu's spiritual weapon was right in front of this thunderous giant peak, everyone would have focused all their attention on this peak. Especially on the top of the mountain, there are many palaces. Under the shining purple thunder, it is magnificent, and it looks like a fairy palace in heaven. Purple thunder whizzes past, flashing purple light. When the light shines, the outlines of those palaces will appear. Although they cannot be seen clearly, the majesty and solemnity revealed in it are still very impressive. Yearn for. Everyone only knows that they are constantly changing positions in the Teku Immortal Road. Every time they go to a new place, the more exciting things seem to appear. Especially the last time in the grassland and the mausoleum, the various spiritual tools were really shocking. At this time, most people definitely knew that they could not snatch Wu Yu's infinite 10,000 dragon sticks in the world. Therefore, while others were not paying attention, they had moved closer to the only passage. This is their only way out in the purple lightning network. There are too many people here, and no matter how strong they are not sure they can overpower the crowd and snatch the spiritual weapon. Therefore, in fact, they knew in their hearts that if they wanted to get the treasure in Wu Yu's hands, they still needed an opportunity. Of course, such an opportunity would not appear when people gathered and surrounded them. The more people there are, the lower the likelihood. Therefore, Princess Yuking first said, "Forget it, we won't rob it. It's your luck to get this spiritual weapon. Since this spiritual weapon has chosen you, we accept our fate, but we don't. Even the little prince can't get it. It's up to you, Wu Yu, to keep it, do you understand? Of course, once it falls into the hands of the little prince, it will be impossible for them to get it. Then let it be like this. This is God's favor for you, and there is nothing we can do about it. However, if we know that you gave the baby to the little prince, don't blame us for being merciless." Juxing Sweji agreed. Anyway, this is a struggle and game between them. What Wu Yu has to do is to be caught in the middle and use the strength of both sides to cause them to deal with each other and protect himself. So far, he has indeed succeeded. The young prince shrugged and said, "What Wu Yu got is of course his own. At least it was all obtained by people from our Yanhuang ancient kingdom. I believe that he can make good use of this spiritual weapon, and it is not the turn of outsiders to worry about it. If you all, hurry up and see what treasures there are on this mountain." Snored. It was originally a melee, but Wu Yu took advantage of the situation and successfully resolved it. At this time, someone had already entered the passage leading up the mountain. People from the Yanhuang ancient kingdom also wanted to rush up first, but the young prince stopped them and said, "This place is full of dangers, but I don't know what dangers there are. If we let them take the lead, they will lose." In this way, when other people walked into the passage one by one, exploring and cautiously moving forward, the people from the Yanhuang ancient kingdom started to follow. Next to the little prince, there were some young geniuses who were in the form of soul. Among them, Jun Shengsheng, who saw Wu Yu getting the spiritual artifact on the spot, was one of them. Moreover, he and the little prince had a very good relationship, and only the little prince followed suit. "Wu Yu, the little prince saved you this time, why don't you be grateful?" Jun Shengsheng looked majestic, walked to the left of Wu Yu, and said in a deep voice. Wu Yu smiled faintly and said, "My gratitude to the little prince is engraved in my heart. No matter how much I say it, I don't know whether it is true or false. Do you value these words?" Jun Shengsheng seemed to be a little dissatisfied with Wu Yu's calm look at this time. He probably secretly believed that Wu Yu would definitely be eaten up if he stayed with the little prince. "Humph. I think you are not sincere enough. If I were you, I would know better than to hide treasures that I can't use. Now the little prince has not only protected your hometown and relatives, but also shown great kindness to you. Don't you know how? Are you grateful?" Jun Xian sneered. Others were also staring at Wu Yu. "Shut up, I'm helping Wu Yu purely because he is from our Yanhuang ancient kingdom. Emperor, you once valued him. How could he be left helpless and bullied by others?" The little prince quickly stopped Jun Shengsheng. However, he did not stop him at the beginning, but asked Jun Shengsheng to speak out. In fact, it was his tacit approval. The young prince was a very impatient person. Now that Wu Yu remained in his team, he was already interested in the spiritual weapon. He couldn't wait any longer. At this time, with everyone else walking ahead, he couldn't help but let Jun Shengsheng put pressure on Wu Yu. Not only Jun Shengren, but also other people in the Yanhuang ancient kingdom also looked unkind at this time. Wu Yu knew these things about Xiaojiju in their hearts. He was not intimidated at all, but looked embarrassed and said, "To be honest, I also really want to dedicate this spiritual Taoist tool to the little prince. After all, this is not a treasure I can bear." However, they also said just now that if I gave it to the little prince so blatantly, they would not let it go. They might become angry and endanger Dongsheng Shenzhou. Therefore, I think after a while it's better to say it again. For the time being, of course, we can delay it as long as we can. He believes that one day, everyone will recognize that no matter what he gets, he has it for granted, instead of everyone coveting it like now. Only the weak and the powerless would be looked down upon like this. Of course Wu Yu understands this truth, he understands it more clearly than anyone else. He clearly remembered whoever ignored him or forced him today. Although Wu Yu didn't say it directly, it also meant rejection. The little prince must have been angry. However, for the time being, he still had a smile on his face, claiming that it was absolutely natural for Wu Yu to get such a treasure due to his luck. By the way, Wu Yu, I'm very curious, how did you crack the magic circle and get this spiritual weapon? Do you know the magic circle so well? Asked the little prince. At least, he had to know how. Now that the mausoleum is gone, the grassland is gone, so Wu Yu doesn't care about the method of leaking it. He has to let the little prince know something, so he pretends to be mysterious at this time, leans into the little prince's ear, and whispers, I will only tell you about this matter the little prince alone. Okay, you say it. The little prince was a little excited. Wu Yu said, when Emperor Yu and I entered the mausoleum, we randomly picked up a black candle near the gold and silver coffin. After we came out, we accidentally discovered that we lit the candle in the magic circle, and the magic circle was ineffective. So I got a spiritual weapon, but unfortunately the candle burned too fast and disappeared, and I had no time to find a second spiritual weapon. So that's it, the little prince clapped his hands excitedly. He was also mixed in the crowd at that time, but Emperor Yu didn't like him, so he didn't dare to get close, but he still had a vague impression of candles. You are so lucky. Do you still have a candle in your hand? Asked the little prince. Wu Yu shook his head and said, I just picked one up casually at that time, and I can't go back to the grassland now, so. That's such a pity. If this method had been known earlier, those spiritual tools might have been taken away. The little prince felt very regretful. Wu Yu was very specific, so he knew that this method was 100% true. This shows that there is only one spiritual tool now, so he is still eager for it. What's damning is that Wu Yu really doesn't want to give it to him, and even uses Princess Yuking's words to suppress him. Therefore, even if Wu Yu told him the method, it could not extinguish the impatience and anger in his heart. Seeing that the others had walked away, he couldn't bear it anymore, so at this time, he winked at Jun Shengsheng. Jun Shengsheng had followed him since he was a child and had a tacit understanding. As soon as he looked at the wink, he knew what to say. At this time, he suddenly said, Wu Yu, we have never seen the spiritual artifact until now. Now we are all companions. You should not mind, take out the spiritual artifact and let everyone open it eyesight. Sure enough, they still couldn't hold it back. In fact, I couldn't bear it even for a while, and the others had just left. Wu Yu couldn't refuse the statement. After all, they just wanted to take a look. Wu Yu was very straightforward. He took out the infinite 10,000 dragon sticks in the world from the Sumuru bag, held it in his hand, and rotated it a few times. A little movement of the magic circle, the power of this spiritual Taoist weapon burst out, suppressing all other Taoist tools, and they could only tremble in front of it. When everyone saw the relief of 10,000 dragons, their eyes lit up, and they all sighed and expressed admiration. In addition to admiration, of course, there was also inner imbalance. They all wanted to get such a treasure, and they felt that Wu Yu came from a poor place. Diomen doesn't deserve to have such a thing at all, and his heart will only become more unbalanced. This is simply like an ugly and short village man in the countryside, but he married a fairy-like wife, while he was of noble birth, but his wife was ordinary. This kind of psychological gap is unbearable for them even for a moment. Especially the little prince, who was making waves in the ancient Yanhuang kingdom, wanted to ask his father for a spiritual artifact, but it was impossible. He had longed for a spiritual artifact for a long time, and now such a treasure appeared in the hands of the powerless Wu Yu. How could he bear it? Logically speaking, after leaving, as long as he takes Wu Yu to the Yanhuang ancient kingdom, Wu Yu will not be able to escape from his grasp. This spiritual weapon must be his. However, he also understood that Wu Yu was not an idiot and would definitely not follow him back to the Yanhuang ancient kingdom like this. In fact, Wu Yu had already made a decision. In my current situation, I definitely can't go directly to the Yanhuang ancient territory with a heavy treasure. I'm not strong enough to hold it. In this case, it is better to return to Dongsheng Shenzhou first. It can not only help eliminate the heaven-swallowing demon ancestor, but also gain time to buffer, breathe, and protect my family. After all, with my current ability, I can then cross the sea alone to the Yanhuang ancient territory. Is no longer a problem. Therefore, if the last resort comes, his first choice may be, go home.